So I got involved in ECHO and becoming a trustee a number of years ago, and I've got 3 sons, and my middle son Charlie was diagnosed antenatally with a congenital heart condition. Fathers, like mothers, have a whole range of emotions and are going through it as well, but they're dealing with it in a different way. And I think fathers have a range of different stresses to mothers at that time about bonding with their child, and in a heart condition when they're having an operation is a difficult thing. Anything we can do to support, we obviously support children, we obviously support mothers and all parents, but just looking at parental father issues in a different way, helping them to express those feelings, helping them to take some time out of the hospital with other fathers who are going through the same thing. So I remember very well the trustee meeting when this proposal was put to the committee. We thought, actually, perhaps we don't do enough for the fathers in situations like this. And I vividly remember the meeting because I remember discussing and thinking back to the time when my Charlie was in hospital with his open heart surgery at 2 days old. And I felt somewhat isolated as a father. There was nobody looking after me and the emotions that I had. And the experiences and feelings that I was feeling at that time, and it was left to me to sort of wander across the grounds of the Evelina and St Thomas's to see how I could cope through this. And thinking back to that there were perhaps more that we could do for fathers in that situation, and that we need to think about the whole parental family as well.
I think the best way for me to explain it would be when I actually got the call from my wife, early hours in the morning, being told that he's being rushed off, he's not well. Getting in there, my literally first experience of the whole thing, got into the room where all the happy moments were at that particular moment in time. I was left with nothing in the room, just a few bags. I hit the floor. It felt like hours, but it was probably only about a minute or two. When I realised no one was coming back for me, I went off to see what was going on, see where my son was, being told that what was going to happen. Mine was blank. I don't really remember the point from where they took him from Tunbridge Wells up to the Evelina. The whole thing, I don't know if I choose to blank it out or it's just something I do. And when you walk through that door and you see everything, it makes you very humble. You walk in and think, my God, you hear about these things, but until you get in there and you see what's going on and you're seeing helpless children in that position, you're thinking how much I'd like to change that position for me. But it's just a numb feeling. It's a very cold feeling, and no one massively likes hospitals at the best of times. And especially when you're walking in there and you're being told that your son was within hours of dying.
Everything just kind of happened so fast. We were partially aware of what was going to happen. We'd seen all the bits of equipment that would be used beforehand. But yeah, like I say, in an instant everything happened. We had doctors in, nurses in, everybody in, and you know, bleeps and lights all over the place. It was...
Oh goodness me, yeah, there's so many things that go through your mind, because obviously you're trying to balance work with now suddenly having to go up into a hospital in London, so you've got all those sorts of time frames to deal with and plan for. Being a manager, you know, it's not quite as simple as just simply, oh, you know, by the way, I've got to, you know, take off a week now, because it was fairly short notice. Sebastian had a test. They decided that he did need to have the surgery slightly sooner than they were first planning, so it actually happened within about the space of about 10 days. We suddenly got told, actually no, he does have to have the surgery and he's going to have it in 10 days time.
Due to my son's circumstances, and I was already off work due to stress and anxiety because of what was happening with my son Harrison. I was very, very lucky in the sense that I have a very good and very understanding employer, and we had a very good sickness policy. They gave me the support and time that I needed to be with my son and to be there through his surgery and his recovery. I'm very much aware that there are many people that don't have that support, but I'm very, very thankful that my employer kind of took that worry and pressure off me regarding my job, and allowed me to focus on my son and what was actually more important at that moment in time.
From birth to being in the intensive care unit was strange, you know. It was the feeling I was hoping for after birth was the feeling of, yeah, I'm a dad, and phoning everyone up and saying, look, I'm a dad, it's brilliant, we're home, but it's not how it happened. But it was, yeah, it was a blur, but I still remember it. Yeah.
Scared, anxious at the time. There's not much really else. There's mainly the emotions that you feel. Apart from that, it's one big sort of, how do you put it, experience. It's very daunting. Lots of people, lots of bodies, lots of machines, lots of different noises, but after a while, you know, I think it took me about maybe a day, 2 days to sort of realise, well, hang on a minute, this beat is for this machine, this beat is for that machine. And then after a while, when you get talking to the nurses and the doctors there, they do explain a lot of the machines and what they do, what they're there for, and different numbers.
You feel that you have to sort of take on this role of being the strong one, and it can be hard to try and be strong when you've got such major, you know, concern. I did feel that I had to put on a little bit of a facade, if you like, and try and be extra strong when, you know, sort of, you know, there's all these, you know, feelings going on inside, and your stomach's turning into knots, and you're just trying to keep a straight face, as opposed to, you know, breaking down and crying, you know, particularly when you know, the doctors are, you know, telling you that there's this problem, there's that problem, and all the surgery and that he's going to have and all that sort of thing. Yeah, you know, yeah, you know, dads, I think, and certainly for me, it was a case of just still sometimes, despite having a very supportive wife, it was still sometimes me having to sort of go off by myself and just have a little cry in the toilet, and then come back out again. Being composed and straight, and being able to face it again.
Firstly, I felt as Harrison's father that I've slightly let him down, ever so slightly, because as a dad you want to fix things and I couldn't fix this. This was out of my control, and as a result of this I had various issues with trying to overcome those feelings of guilt and relinquishing the control over to somebody else, which I found very, very difficult. There were times I cried, a couple of times uncontrollably, a couple of times, and mostly when nobody was around. But I felt that I couldn't sort of show those emotions in front of other people, and I found it very hard to talk to other people about it, and I found it very hard to ask for help, actually.
There were certain aspects I just couldn't do. Changing his dressing, for example, on his chest. I mean, I actually couldn't do it. I mean, not physically do it, the doctors and nurses were doing it, but I couldn't be there for him, holding his hand, because it was just too much. I couldn't see him in pain, or, yeah, that was horrible. There's lots of times I had to leave and leave my partner to do it, and she was amazing. She was so strong. I don't know if I've ever told her that I admire her for that.
I'll definitely say don't be afraid to ask questions, and the more questions you ask, the more information you're going to get back. The more questions you ask, the more times you're going to get somebody to actually respond or go and find out the information that you're trying to find.
It was a training day, wasn't it, that Echo put on? Right. And there was a mum that come in and explained about her son's journey, if you like. I think he was about 2.5 when we met her. But yeah, if Echo ever offer that to dads, go.
The main thing I would say would be that don't get too wrapped up in the machines, all the beeping and what the numbers mean. Because I spent weeks and months trying to work it out and still don't know what it means. And it's beeping faster and that number's gone up, what does it mean? Don't panic. Yeah, just let them do what they're doing, because they are brilliant at what they do.
I think sometimes you just go into it because one of you's got to do something where you are thinking about the logical things, thinking about, right, we've got to get these things in, these things out. We've got to be able to live comfortably while we're up here, and try and think about what happens when we do finally get to go home or get to go back to the local hospital where our life can sort of build again. And as I say, I mean, I literally have that one instant that came out, walked down this little tunnel bit just round from the family room, and I remember being on the phone to my mum, just sitting there going, I can't do this, and I just hit the floor. And it was a dark place. The one bit I would certainly say is don't hold it in, because I'm now 5 years on, and my wife doesn't know this. I haven't told her, and it feels like I'm lying to her when I say that I'm okay, and there's occasions where I break down when I talk to anybody about it, and I have to stop and just sort of think, you know what, no, that didn't happen, we're now here. Find a way of allowing it to let go.
Don't be afraid to ask questions, and there is no such thing as a stupid question. Contact Echo for help and support, and see if they can put you in contact with other dads that have been through a similar situation. There are other dads out there. I've spoke to quite a few in recent years and months that I've actually become quite good friends with, who have a wealth of knowledge and made me feel not so much of a bubbling fool at the time, that they was feeling these feelings of isolations, of the crying, the not knowing how to deal with it. So there is support out there, but as men or as fathers, we fail to ask for that help sometimes, and we shouldn't, because in my personal experience, this is the hardest thing I've been through in my life, and I was sort of the one going for the actual operation. But you're not going to get the help that you need or the support that you need unless you ask for it, and it is out there if you do need it.